watching WJTS News. I'm Charlotte Olson. Jasper police made an arrest on a warrant after responding to a fight. At 11:30 p.m. last night, Jasper police responded to a possible fight occurring at 443 West 43rd Street, apartment 43 in Jasper. The caller advised that there was loud yelling and also screaming inside of the apartment. Upon arriving, officers determined that there was no fight. However, upon identifying everyone in the apartment, it was determined that 30-year-old Terry Zink of Huntingburg had a felony failure to appear warrant for drug-related offenses from the year 2015. Zink was arrested and transported to and lodged into the DuBois County Security Center. In a press release, the director of Mentors for Youth announces plans to step down. After serving 3 years as executive director of Mentors for Youth of DuBois County, Courtney Canese has announced that she will be stepping down from her position. Canese stated that it has been a privilege to help bring the amazing organization to the top of its game, and that it will be an honor to pass the reins on to the next individual and to help further board development. During Canese's tenure, the program had 3 years of record-setting matches between youth and also caring adults. Under Canese's leadership, the organization has also enhanced communications with constituents and also added marketing managers to the staff. Canese will stay on board to help with the transition of a successor. After leaving Mentors for Youth, Canese plans to stay in DuBois County and pursue other professional opportunities. Mentors for Youth has been serving DuBois County since 1987. U.S. Senator Joe Donnelly and U.S. Senator Todd Young announced today that the Government Publishing Office has changed the designation of Indiana natives to Hoosiers in the new federal government style guide. The style guide currently uses the term Indianian, and Donnelly and former Governor Coates sent a letter last year to Michael Aberson, chairman of the Government Publishing Office's Style Board, as did then Representative Todd Young, requesting that there be a change.
It's a busy time here in Washington, but we've come together today to share some good news for our state.
This issue is not partisan, nor has it dominated national political discourse, but it's an issue that's important to the people we represent, and therefore it's important to us.
If you've ever had to correct somebody who has called you an Indianan, today's the day to celebrate.
So we're pleased to announce that the Government Printing Office has established Hoosier as the official designation for inhabitants of our state of Indiana.
We worked together to push for this change, and now the federal government will call us what we call ourselves, Hoosiers.
It's not just a classic movie. It's not just the nickname for IU athletics. It's who we are. And Joe, if we can get the federal bureaucracy to agree with us on that, then I feel like there's nothing we can't do.
That's a deal.
The Government Publishing Office is the federal government's official printing office, and it is responsible for producing, publishing, distributing, and also preserving information, products, and services in print and digital formats for all 3 branches of the federal government. This includes official publications of Congress, the White House, and other federal agencies as well. The first namesake ship in more than 70 years will be boasting the name of the Hoosier State. And also the crew from this ship, the USS Indiana submarine, paid a visit to Jasper on Tuesday afternoon. The Jasper Post of the American Legion 147 hosted this group. On hand at the Legion on Tuesday was Ray Scher, along with Jesse Sinbauer, the captain and Master Chief Petty Officer of the new USS Indiana. Scher says that Tuesday's visit gave the public an opportunity to learn more about the USS Indiana, as well as to meet the 2 and other men and women from the crew on hand.
One of the responsibilities of the commissioning committee of any ship, is, especially a namesake state, is to build that permanent relationship, that lasting relationship between the people of Indiana and the USS Indiana. Travel around the state, raising awareness, promoting support for the ship and crew, which is essential to that lasting relationship. This ship's going to be around for the next 35 years, and so it's important that those sailors are supported, and also they take on a persona of Hoosiers.
The USS Indiana is the 6th unit in a group of 8 that is known as the Block 3 of the Virginia-class submarine program. This group of ships that are being built will feature large aperture bow sonar array and also 2 vertical launching systems containing 6 missiles each, instead of the 12 vertical launch tubes that submarines built during the Cold War era featured. This design doubled the payload space from 1,200 cubic feet to 2,300 cubic feet. And the USS Indiana is currently being built at the Huntington Ingalls Industry in Newport, with new shipbuildings in the Newport News, Virginia area. It will be 7,800 tons and 377 feet in length, with a 34-foot beam at its widest point measured at the ship's existing waterline. Cher says that the crew is visiting communities and businesses across the Hoosier State as part of an effort to raise awareness about the new ship and crew and to learn more about Indiana and to also engage all of the Hoosiers across the state.
Indiana's got such a great legacy in many areas. We talk about there's 2 things we do really well. We make things and we grow things. And it's the making thing. Indiana being #1 state in manufacturing, there's nearly 100 Indiana businesses that are directly manufacturing or indirectly manufacturing things for the ship or supporting the construction of the ship or supporting other programs for the ship. And it's literally Hoosier hands that are building the Hoosier boat. But that goes back to our state's earliest days of invention, innovation, entrepreneurship. You see it all across the state. There are small companies to large companies involved in this. So it's pretty special.
Nearly 100 Indiana businesses are involved with the manufacturing of the submarine program or are in support of the construction of the ships as a whole. The Huntingburg City Council continued their discussion over the issue of cybersecurity. In recent years, the topic of cybersecurity has become more prevalent, from high-profile cases of emails and user information being compromised to websites forced to shut down due to overload. Cities and towns are finding themselves the target of these cyber attacks. Mayor Denny Spinner spoke on the concern for potential attacks in the Huntingburg area.
Tonight's discussion was about some insurance policies to help protect us against loss should there be a cyber attack against our data systems here. If you recall, the last month or so we've had some discussions on the measures that we've been taking internally to protect us against such attacks, but the discussion tonight centered on, should that happen, how would we recover from that? So we heard a presentation from our insurance provider on the steps that we could take to not only recover the data, but the expense that might go along with that. Should our systems go down and there be a loss of business for a couple of days, how do we recover those costs? So the consideration is, this is a reality. You see it in the news across the country. It's happened here in Indiana, where smaller communities, some township level even agencies have been victims of cyber security attacks. So we're trying to consider what are the proper measures to protect our data and to protect the very confidential information that is collected by the city in various ways. So the council this evening reviewed the policies and will be coming back for a recommendation at our next meeting.
One such recent attack was seen in Madison County, Indiana, which saw a widespread malware attack called ransomware. This type of malware encrypts the data of the computers and network in which it infects. It then locks it from being accessed by appropriate users until a ransom payment has been made. In the case of Madison County, the county officials chose to pay this ransom. Also, the Huntingburg Council heard from City of Huntingburg Safety Director Don Forrester and Rob Mendel, the city's computer systems technician, who brought representatives from German American and Travelers Insurance to discuss the policy options that the city has in the case of a cyber attack. Cybersecurity is an ever-evolving field that requires vigilance in safeguarding one's own data, which means that there is always a chance for an attack. The proposed policy covers two sides of the cyber attack issue, and the first being third-party liability coverage, which deals with the issue of damage done to third parties that the city works with, such as citizens, businesses, and employees. In the event that negligence would occur by the city that causes harm to those individuals. The second side of the policy is first-party insuring agreement, which covers out-of-pocket expenses in responding to data breaches. Such responses include IT forensics to determine when the attack occurred and who did the attack in effect, and also attorneys to help deal with such. This policy also includes business interpretation coverage, which covers the possible loss in money that the city might have made had an aspect of a potential cyber attack not happened. After hearing the presentation, the council was presented with 3 plans, and the first to provide coverage from the moment of inception to the end of the contract. The second to provide coverage from the moment of inception, including the attacks that are newly discovered that occurred within 3 years before the contract start date. The third is to provide coverage from the moment of inception and full coverage for any newly discovered data breaches done before the contract start date. Council members chose to look over the 3 options with their intent to make a decision at the next council meeting. Make sure to keep it right here, because up next we'll take a look at your weather summary.